Welcome into the aftermatch. Come for the rugby. Stay for the aftermatch with Kirsten Beav, the biggest week of the year. But before we get into that, because I know what you'll be thinking, yes, the endless summer for Waikato no longer. Beav put the trophy in the cabinet. He disrespected Southland, North Harbour and Manawatu. I think you actually owe them an apology. The Ranfurly Shield is in Stagland.
It is in Stagland, and I couldn't be happier. At the end of the day, I'm a lover of rugby, and I know what it will mean for the people of Southland. I know it will mean a packed house this Saturday afternoon. And I guess my only disappointment is I didn't act quicker. I was complacent. I didn't need to go get the kids' photos with the Shield this week because I thought it'll be there all summer. But little do you know, a group of Southland heroes emerged.
Oh, amazing. The most amazing scenes coming from the Deep South yesterday. Emotion didn't get Waikato up this week. Surprise, surprise. Do we think Emotion's going to get the All Blacks up, B, for what is the biggest test since the Rugby World Cup final in France 2 years ago?
I can't remember a bigger test outside of any World Cup as far as build-up and, I guess, the length of the build-up. I mean, we work in rugby, but let's be honest, everyone...
We've been building up for this for a year.
Yeah, I mean, Super Rugby was nice, but we all knew that there was
The Boks are coming to town.
There was one game that we were all going to be absolutely fever pitch for, and you see stuff talking about it now, and already, like, it's only Tuesday. And, you know, you used to say as a player, don't play your game early, boys. You know, like, don't get too wound up yet. But, geez, as a fan, how can you not get wound up too early?
How about this quote from Scott Robertson? We understand the figures, the history, the facts, and the occasion. That creates enough edge in itself. There's a lot of power and fear. It gets your body ready for survival, and that's the most human thing you can do. We're here to protect something. The Garden of Eden, 32 years, 50 tests unbeaten. 1 versus 2 in the world. The Boks looking to go 5 straight wins against the All Blacks. Will they be fearful this week?
Oh, I don't know if South Africans by nature fear much.
No, the All Blacks. Will they be scared?
They won't be scared of the challenge. They will be conscious of, you know, you're always conscious of the records, you know, and whatever you're playing for, you don't want to do this or you don't want to do that. I mean, I can remember when we had the Aussies and a lot of us were starting because some of our big names were out. And at the time, it was 20 years or 15 years through this winning record. And we didn't want to be the team that lost it there. So I think it's actually great to hear Razor talking like that. The fact that he's well and truly aware of it. And the team will be well and truly aware of it. But they've got some settled guys up there that will lead the way this week. Like I'm looking... Guys like Cody Taylor, Scott Barrett, Ardie Savea, they will lead the forward pack and the rest will get on board. And for that, I think all of that will be a factor. But those guys, so experienced and hardened, will be the ones that lead the way and will show the younger boys that this is how we're going to go about doing it.
Did the coaches that you were under in the All Blacks camp, did they used to talk about these records? Did they used to talk about the Bledisloe Cup, the unbeaten streak at Eden Park? Because clearly Razor is using that during the week.
Oh, I think everyone was aware of it. And
so you never mentioned it?
Oh, I don't think it was overly mentioned. Because, I mean, the whole idea is Monday to Thursday, Monday to Friday, you're getting your detail. And then being an All Black and jumping on the bus and going to Eden Park and seeing Auckland get swept up by it, then that's going to, the emotion will look after itself. You know the importance. I mean, these guys have been getting told all year about the game at Eden Park. You know, they're not immune to it. So they don't need to have blackboard sessions about, 20 years ago they beat this lot and that lot. So they're aware of it. You know.
So do you think this is just things Razor's saying in the media?
Oh, no, I think it'll have had an edge. There'll be a natural edge.
We know that he themes his campaigns.
Yes.
And he themes his week. This is how he gets his teams motivated.
Well, don't you think that the South Africans too will have been theming this week as well?
Well, they've been calling it Eden Park.
Yes,
and this is what Russie, this is what he wants. He's coming across to break this record.
Oh, I mean, when you look at the South Africans and what they've done. So under Russie's watch, they've won back-to-back World Cups. They've won Lions Series. What else is there really for a South African to achieve in a Springbok jersey? It's to go against your greatest rival and knock off their record at their spiritual home, their Ellis Park. You know, like, of course they've been excited. Russie's been doing the job that long that some weeks would be like, well, how am I going this week? What angle am I taking? Well, this one just is a gift to him, an absolute gift.
Let me give you another gift. With all the hype, the hoopla, the numbers, the history, it's Ardie Savea's 100th test.
Yes.
Does that play a part at all?
Again?
You don't want to lose for your mate,
No.
surely.
No, exactly.
You never
And
want to lose anyway, but this is Ardie Savea. This is our Sia Khaleesi.
I wonder, like, an amazing achievement. And, like, what's that, 14 now or 15 Centurions? He is obviously all time. But for me, yep, it'll be that might be talked about, and that might be a little bit motivating. But for me, I just think, what does that mean for Ardie? Ardie doesn't miss a moment. Like, for me, I just think...
Oh, you think he's going to have a day out?
Yeah, I think he's going there.
You think he's putting some chip kicks and regathering and scoring in between the posts?
Look, I think about Moana Ardie. I think that's what you're going to see at Eden Park. I think it'll do more for him than anyone else. He's that sort of guy. He's that sort of player. When it's been about him in the past, when Moana needed him more than ever, what did he deliver? He delivered. So I feel he will take the most out of that. And what a special time to do your 100th. It would have been nice in hindsight.
Yeah.
And you can't rig these things.
For
Cody's as well, as opposed to being...
But that's okay.
That's nice. I think they would still probably... The New Zealand crowd, they'll
appreciate him.
They'll acknowledge it some way. But, yeah, I think it works nicely, doesn't it, that it's Ardie's 100th for this monumental game.
So we won't call it Eben Park. We'll call it Eden Park for this weekend. How do we stop all the South African fans coming through the gates and making it like Alice Park?
Well, having lived in North Hamilton for about 10 years and my neighbour being from Pretoria, I would set up some roadworks and just some blocks in the north of Hamilton.
You don't even have to do that because they're on the southern motorway anyway.
Yeah, that's correct. And I also know South Africans' sort of personalities. They don't like being inconvenienced. And so if we can just put up some roadblocks around, say, Northern Hamilton and pretty much the whole North Shore, I think they'll just have a look at it and turn around and go home. So there'll be a lot of South Africans there. On a side issue, my small town now has a biltong shop. They're everywhere, South Africans.
A biltong shop?
They're everywhere.
Do you care to dabble in the biltong shop in Waiuku?
I make my own.
No, you don't.
I do. My South African friends, when I was at Beav for one of my birthdays, they gave me a biltong maker.
How do you do it?
Oh,
it's just dried meat.
It's just dried. You hang dried meat.
But do you go and get your meat from a butcher, or do you go out and get your meat?
I go and get it from a butcher. The only thing with the biltong machine that they gave me is if you ever got ever searched by the police, your house got searched, there'd be some questions because it's probably a similar... Similar
to set up to what others in Waiuku would be running.
Which are against the law. So I'm always conscious of if there's ever a police raid, not to have my biltong machine just sitting there.
You're pretty much South African now that you've got a biltong machine and you actually brought it back from Bath as well.
I'll tell you what, I won't be come Saturday night.
But we know you can't bring biltong through customs in New Zealand. I learned that the hard way. You can't bring it across with you, so you need your machine here. Beav, I'm nervous about this game. Can you allay some fears?
Well, I can. I think there's been a lot of hysteria about Argentina Test 2. Dump it. Forget it. They unfortunately, they all probably played one of the poorer games together. Usually somebody's going to be able to carry them through. They didn't. Couple that with the yellow cards. I thought they'd been really tracking well. The thing that gives me encouragement is the way that they're playing, as far as their intent and what they want to be playing. Because if they'd been playing similar to sort of last year, where it was a bit slower, but more deliberate, I think we'd be sitting ducks for the South Africans. But we have shown an intent and a belief of trying to play with tempo that gives me hope, Kirst. And like sometimes coaches are coy with things. Razor hasn't been. I saw a press conference yesterday. He said, well, we know what's coming. And he cheekily looked to the skies. So that's great. They know what's coming. We all know South Africa blends a little bit of the free spirit play with all these exciting backs that they've got, but we also know when the acid comes on, it goes one direction, and we know what's coming, so therefore you can plan for it. We've had 2 weeks to work out how to diffuse high kicks, because that's clearly been an Achilles. These coaches and senior players, they won't have rested for 2 weeks. They would have been literally trying to break down how we're going to be better at this.
Would they not have? Because, like, for those that don't know, South Africa have been in the country for 10 days by the time this test comes around. The All Blacks were back in the country. They went on break. They only assembled together on Sunday night. So they're only together for 6 days. Does that not matter? No,
when I say they wouldn't have rested, of course they'd have rested and got out of the environment. But
they're still doing things.
They're still training and they've still got programs. But what I'm saying, Kirst, is particularly the coaches and particularly the leaders, there wouldn't have been an hour of the day where they didn't think, right, Eden Park, how are we going to be better than what we were in Buenos Aires? It's natural. You know, they care about it and they know that there's a few things that they need to sort out. They've been exposed to high balls, you know, so I've been there when you've been exposed to high balls, and the coaches went out and came up with formulas on how to counter it.
Before you get into how the All Blacks are going to beat the Boks on Saturday, I want to go into a few things that Razor talked about in that press conference yesterday. A lot of injuries in this All Blacks team.
Yep.
So first of all, some injury updates. Caleb Clark and Luke Jacobson both were back in the NPC on the weekend. Both go back to NPC this weekend. Is that interesting?
Yeah, it was for me because I thought both would be well and truly in consideration, especially probably more so Caleb than anyone, considering what we've just talked about. Caleb's known as the best aerial winger in the country. So, yeah, it was fascinating to me that they said, nah, he's not until Test 2, which is good. I guess it's good discipline from the coaches. It proves that there's not a panic about them. And I think it highlights that don't get too excited about mass changes coming, folks, because that would have been an obvious one.
Well, there will be changes because Cortez Latim has been given till the last minute to be declared fit. He's got a rib injury that he picked up in Argentina, but Xavier Rose come into the All Blacks camp.
Has he?
Xavier Rose come in.
There you go.
On Sunday night and assembled with that team, or maybe Monday morning. So that tells you Kyle Preston's going to be on the bench for the All Blacks.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. The good thing, bad thing, about Cortez's injuries, it's not cartilage. So going forward, cartilage never leaves you. It's always going to be very, very abouts. But if it's a fracture or a crack, then I mean, there's probably ways that they can nurse that easier than the cartilage.
And the big one, because he's back. We've been talking about him being back in the country for as long as we've been talking about South Africa coming to town, because it was signposted when he signed back in New Zealand that he was going to be back in the All Blacks. It was a matter of when, not if. Leicester Whanganuku. 5 tests in, and he's now been called into the environment because Timothy Tavatavanawai fractured his arm, unfortunately playing for the Mako in the first 20 minutes on the weekend. Yes. That brings Big Leicester in.
Sad news for one of the favourites of the aftermatch this year, in Tavatavanawai, but as you mentioned, Big Leicester was always going to be included at some point this year, and now with what's happened and all the injuries that they've decided now's the time, there's no doubt that he could add something. He is a super talent.
So, first of all, they had to get an exemption for him to come in because he wasn't actually allowed to play for the All Blacks because he hadn't been playing. So that's how he's actually in this environment now and wasn't originally named in the Rugby Championship squad. Razor was asked about it yesterday. Is Leicester going to play this weekend? And he said, everyone's eligible to get picked. That's why they're here. The good thing about Leicester is he can play multiple positions. He's a great power athlete. He holds his feet beautifully. He attracts defenders. We're really pleased he's come straight back into the fold and he's performed at the highest level. That tells me, Beav, he's playing.
He's playing.
He's in the 23 this weekend. Razor's just softening the blow and getting us ready for team naming on Thursday. Leicester's name will be there.
On form and ability, 100% you could understand it. On being in sync with the rest of them, that would be the interesting thing for me.
Is it just not possible to get up to scratch with the systems?
Systems-wise and intelligence-wise, that'll be of calls and all the rest. It's just names and a bit of homework. He'd be fine and fat. I just wonder, you think about the defence point of view, such a critical position, so therefore, could you see him starting at centre, having been with the guys 3 days?
I'm not talking at centre.
How much has he played with Geordie Barrett as a 12? So I think you put a line through that. That's not happening. You're talking not at the centre.
I'm talking wing or on the bench.
Starting winger, it's more believable than starting centre, but probably the bench, if anything.
Could you see it happening?
I could after those comments. I still just think is 4 or 5 days enough to get in tune with everyone?
You're the only one that would know that, having been there yourself, you know what I mean? I mean, we're all just speculating from the outside.
Like, he's a super talent.
It's possible for him to get up to speed and go there.
They'll probably judge it themselves. They'll just be watching training going, but lost, or nah, he's in tune.
Okay. So it could happen. Leicester Whanganuku. Watch this space. Thursday, team naming.
Have you forgot how big he is?
Humongous.
When you see him out on the NPC field, geez, he dwarfs people.
Threatening. Very threatening. Look, we will probably do a team naming reaction, so make sure you like and subscribe to this post. The All Blacks, how do they beat the Boks this weekend, Beav? What are the keys for you?
The keys for me is playing our brand of footy. And so it's a build on what they've already done. They've tried to play at tempo and they've tried to play with more width this year, which I think is crucial. So when I say they've got to play with intent and a bit more speed, it's things like not kicking out. It's kicking, it's still clearing your own 20, your own 30, but it's not kicking the ball out. If you kick the ball out, what are you doing? You're giving South Africa a line out 30 or 40 out, which is absolutely what they want to start their play from. But I'm thinking we have to, like the Australians did, particularly in Test 1, when they're coming out their own 20 or own 30, they went to width. What does that mean? It means that South Africa's going to already be holding players back, so the line speed's not going to be as fast. So then if you get to width and it's not on to move it, then you've got guys out there like Geordie, like Will Jordan, you got wingers who are capable of kicking down a tram line, and you get them to kick. What does that mean? Well, it means you're going to get one South African by himself coming across, be it a fullback or the blindside wing, and then you're also making their forwards run 50 metres. And they're going back, and then they're box kicking back to you. And all you've done there is you've kept the ball on the park, you've moved them, and you've got easy yardage without giving them, on their terms, the ball. And so just things like that. Things like if there's a chance to go quickly from quick lineouts, you go quickly. And the other big thing around, I guess, getting the South African forward pack to move and chase is how we go about playing the game. And we've seen a tendency sometimes from this All Black team where they get into the middle of the park, but then they come back to where they've come from. And essentially all that's doing is allowing the Springboks to make a tackle, reload, and then make another tackle where they've come from. I think we need to make them chase us. So if we go to the midfield with a carry for one of our strong midfielders or loose forwards, then keep going the same way. And again, you're shifting the point of attack, but you're also making their forwards go from one side of the field to the other. And then when you get to there, then you work your way back. And you've seen, I saw us have success against the French with it, where once we started to make them chase us, they couldn't get their defensive line around in time. So a lot of that stuff is around moving their big pack and playing to our strengths, getting our loose forwards and our backs playing together. The other thing, which I guess I've sort of glossed over, which I have no worries about, is our set piece. Our set piece will be brilliant. It'll be scrum time. I think they'll be confident, particularly with Lomax coming back in.
Is he starting for you? Does he go straight in?
So you look at benches and people talk about impact. I think it's irrelevant. Like, we always think, you got to be an athlete to come off the bench, make an impact. But if Newell comes off the bench, his greatest impact could be scrum penalties. Or if Lomax comes off the bench, so I don't think, or De Groot off the bench, I don't think you have to pick guys off the bench who are just these super athletes, especially when it comes to our props, because we know that they're going to bring guys on who are going to try and get scrum penalties. So I think as long as all those guys are great scrummagers. So I think set piece wise, we'll be fine. Line out wise, I think we'll be fine again because they've committed or made a bet, I think, of Tupou Vai at 6.
So we've got 3 locks on the field.
So therefore, 3 great targets. Cody Taylor, great line-out thrower. I don't have any concerns there. So we're going to get our ball on our terms.
You don't think that the South Africans could get in Fabian Holland's head? First test against South Africa for the young kid?
Look,
Evan strikes me as a bit of a...
Oh, of course he will.
He'd be our Brodie Retallick, right?
But Scott Barrett's not going to just allow things to happen on his watch. He's the leader, he's the captain, and I'm sure he'll look after him. But Fabian also strikes me as someone he's not going to shy away from it, and Tupou now, he's very much an experienced All Black, and he's got a bit of what about him too, which I like. And, I just think that if we can dominate, or not dominate, but have on our terms, our set piece on our terms, we get our kicking game right, which for me is keeping the ball on the park and isolating their back 3, and then getting into a bit of a kicking duel with them. Because again, what does that mean, Chris? It means their forwards are constantly moving. And we saw when the Aussies got that happening in Johannesburg, it opened up space for them. Because we've got the attacking ability, but you just have to open up the space in the first place.
When you talk about our attacking ability, Will Jordan, we know he's had some season, hasn't scored for a few games though. You reckon he's ready to just open up and
he's due.
Hat-trick?
Well, give him a hat-trick.
Get him in your fantasy team as captain.
Thanks for reminding me, I need to get onto my fantasy team. But no, I mean, for me...
You're out of the running because you forgot to change your second team in Argentina.
I will change that. I mean, you say he hasn't scored a try for a while. It's irrelevant. like I see what he did when I was lucky enough to be live in Cordoba. He's as sharp as ever. The try set up for Cortez Latama, he looked like on another level. So I feel he's ready to explode. And, if you get your set piece right, you get momentum, you get them chasing you, then he's the perfect foil. The great thing about him is him hunting around Bodie Barrett against forwards, not loose forwards, but forwards who, are big men, maybe not that agile going backwards, because that's the thing. We've got to get momentum into our game, because then that negates the Springbok defence, the line speed. If you get them going backwards, then they can't come forward quickly. And then if they're not coming forward quickly, then they're sitting on their heels. And that's when your Bodie Barretts, your Will Jordans can start floating around. Sevu Reece is obviously a very busy winger around rucks and what have you. So there's going to have to be a lot of emphasis on getting momentum first to bring those sorts of boys into the game.
How important is leadership, and not just the toss of the coin 30 minutes before kickoff, the manipulating the ref at certain times of the match, the decisions to go for the corner or take the 3 points? How important could leadership be in this test? Because surely this is going to be close either way.
Yeah, I think it will be close either way. I mean, I think sometimes, again, I'll use the word hysteria in the broader media sense.
Don't forget you're part of it now.
Yeah, I don't get caught up in some of the stuff.
You do. You're in the hysteria and hype.
But around the leadership, questioning leadership, for me, a lot of decisions are made from upstairs, for starters. There'll be communication from upstairs who are obviously not quite in the heat of battle saying, right, corner, penalty, or what have you, go for shots. And then a lot of the stuff is predetermined anyway. You go into games knowing that we're going to do this from here, that from there. So the leadership for me is, they'll be trying to work the referee a bit. I think the great thing about, I guess they have these test meetings with referees. So they'll be sowing things in both coaches who
that they've seen from the opposition.
Yes, and
have a look at this.
They're not doing this, are they? For me, if I'm Razor, I'm going in and saying 5 seconds on the ruck. Is it still a law? I know that we had it in Super Rugby, but if that's still a law, then I'm going to the referee and saying, mate, we're not allowing 5-second rucks. Blow your whistle, be brave. Because that is a big part of the South African game. They get their platform ready to kick off. So there's just things that you'll notice throughout the game. If there's some penalties that you haven't seen from a while, Kirst, you'll know that the coaches have got to the referee and been hot on it all week with them in their meetings.
Okay, let's talk about our Black Magic moment of the week.
Yes.
Our Black Magic moment, and we want you to vote on it. We're going to give you 2, like we have done in the past, since there's no MVP for you to vote on this week. Actually, let's give our prize pack from last week's winner.
Yeah, to Juzzo 7. Congratulations, Jacob. You love Parker on debut, so that was brilliant. And we will get your Black Magic prize pack out to you, of course, brought to us from our great mates at Black Magic Tackle. Jump across to blackmagictackle.com. You
do that superbly, Beav, every single week. Couldn't do the show without them, though. So very
absolutely
grateful for their support. So
and how exciting, though. I know we've got an exciting test match going forward, but how exciting. We're in spring, which means summer's close, which means the fishing's going to get better.
So what fish are you bringing me next week?
Do you know I tried to get you some whitebait yesterday?
And what happened?
I don't know if you're aware of the weather that was around my area yesterday. But
bit of wind, bit of rain.
All I got was a cold. And I actually had a misdemeanor and ended up in the Waikato River. We slipped trying to put the screen in, but all's well that ends well.
Oh, good. Well, you're still here.
Yeah. Tell you what.
No whitebait, but you're here.
I'm here, and it was actually quite refreshing. It was actually not as bad a temperature as I thought it might have been.
How long did you stay in? Because you don't mind a swim, do you?
Yeah.
Don't mind a wee ice bath?
Yeah, wee hot cold. Look, probably long enough to recover my calf muscles from a tough run in the morning.
Oh, there you go, for a few seconds then. So our All Black Magic moment this week. Give us our 2 moments that we want people to vote on.
Yeah,
what if we decide 2 significant moments in All Black Springbok history?
Well, significant in so many ways. So the first one is one of the last times that the All Blacks played South Africa in the greater super city of Auckland. And, of course, it was actually a home test for South Africa over there on the North Shore in front of thousands of South Africans. But it was 57-0 to the All Blacks. Why this was significant is I can't imagine, well, I haven't done my stats research, but I can't imagine there's ever been a bigger winning margin between the 2 teams. But the other big significant thing was South Africa at the time were caught in an awkward position of thinking that they needed to play rugby and play more like the All Blacks and speed of game. And that day it just got horribly exposed that it wasn't for them. I guess the fallout from that is Rassie comes in, starts coaching them and playing South African style rugby, goes back to a DNA, big forwards, great kicking game. They win a World Cup 2 years later. Remarkable. So there was that one, the 57-0 trouncing in Albany. And the other one, which was, I guess, so significant, was 2022, the Ardie Savea test match. We went to Johannesburg after losing test 1. All the chat was Ardie was about to lose his job. They were going to lose another test match. And the boys came out. I think they won something like 30-odd to 20, 21. And for me, it was significant when we looked to this week. Because, yes, the personnel was different. But I think if we went with a similar sort of style, a similar sort of thinking, they had Havili playing at 12 outside Richard Moanga. And that week, they did a lot of variation to their kicking game. They started to kick into the wide channels. They didn't just go box kick to box kick and get in that sort of game with South Africans. So that was significant. And the other significant factor, which I think our set piece will be great, is I guess it was the real unveiling of Lomax and De Groot as our props through necessity. I think Neva was picked in the original squad. They were rushed in for those 2 weeks because of injuries. And they ended up starting their All Blacks and making their All Blacks careers on the back of that. So 2 significant ones. The demolition in Albie or the Fozzie job saver. There you two.
Who are you voting for? I'm going 2022 at Alice Park.
Yeah, I like that one too because of I think it's just got a little bit of spice and I guess correlation to this week where the kicking game, the set piece, I mentioned that those 2 boys emerged and did so brilliantly well. So yeah, let's hope for more of.
Well, let's get your votes. Make sure you vote in the comment. What do you think was the best moment between the All Blacks and South Africa for you? Was it the 2017 hiding, the home game for South Africa at QBE North Harbour Stadium, or Ian Foster's job was saved in 2022 at Alice Park? We're going to do a part 2 of the podcast once again, just like we did last week. So part 1, All Blacks related. Part 2, we're going to talk about the Springboks. Some of the big names for the Boks and how they go about ending this Eden Park record. We'll be back on the aftermatch shortly.